Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's honestly an absolute must-know for almost every small and medium-sized enterprise out there: cybersecurity. We're going to break down the most common cybersecurity risks facing small businesses today, and we'll be basing this on recent guidance and recognized best practices. If you own, manage, or even just work in an SME, consider this the structured, focused guide you need to really understand your digital vulnerabilities and, more importantly, figure out exactly how to fix them. All right, let's dive right in. So let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room right off the bat: the idea that cybercriminals only target huge multinational organizations. This is a persistent, widespread, and frankly, super dangerous misconception. So many small business owners operate under this false sense of security, assuming they have safety by obscurity. They think, hey, we're too small, we just aren't worth the effort to attack. But listen, the data and the trends paint a completely different picture. It's kind of like a giant puzzle, and here's the missing piece. Cybercriminals aren't always hunting for the multi-million-dollar heist. They are usually just looking for the path of least resistance. Small businesses are frequently targeted precisely because they're perceived as much easier to compromise. Think about it. You generally have fewer resources devoted to security and less sophisticated defenses than a massive corporation. To a hacker, an SME is often just a quick, incredibly easy win. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 1. The dangerous small business myth. 2. Phishing and password vulnerabilities. 3. The costly ransomware threat. 4. Internal risks and remote access. And finally, 5. Your practical security blueprint. Kicking things off with Section 1, the dangerous small business myth and rethinking vulnerability. Moving right along to Section 2, the front door, covering phishing and passwords. You know, despite all the incredibly complex tech out there these days, phishing is literally still the most common way business systems get compromised. It's the front door. This is where an attacker sends a deceptive email designed to trick their recipient into clicking a link, opening an infected file, or handing over their passwords. And we need to be clear here, these aren't the clunky, obvious spam emails from a decade ago. Modern phishing campaigns are incredibly convincing. They mimic legitimate suppliers, your bank, or even your senior colleagues. Attackers might literally stalk your business on LinkedIn, figure out who the finance manager is, and send a targeted spear phishing email pretending to be the company director asking for an urgent bank transfer. So how do you actually fight this? Well, since these specific attacks often don't even use malware, they just exploit human trust and a false sense of urgency, your best defense is a concrete procedure for your staff. Step 1, train your team to spot the red flags, things like unexpected urgency, weird sender addresses, or out-of-the-blue requests for passwords. And Step 2, this is huge. Establish a simple verbal or secondary verification process for any financial transfers requested by email. Basically, if the boss emails asking for a wire transfer right this second, just pick up the phone and verify it verbally. A quick conversation is your single best defense. And right alongside phishing, we've got to talk about passwords. Weak or reused passwords are a massive widespread vulnerability. We've all been there. Or at least we all know someone still using company 2024 exclamation point for every single login. To break that dangerous habit, the National Cybersecurity Center recommends the 3 random words approach. It is exactly what it sounds like, stringing together 3 totally random words. It makes a password that's super easy for a human to remember, but mathematically a total nightmare for a computer to crack. But honestly, why stop there? If you really want an unbreakable lock on that digital front door, you empower your team by pairing those strong passwords with a password manager and multi-factor authentication, or MFA. A password manager takes the headache out of memorizing unique passwords for every single service. And MFA, that provides an absolutely essential second layer of protection. So even if a password does get stolen, the attacker still can't get in without that second verification step. Boom, secured. Let's move into Section 3, the costly ransomware threat. This is where things get really serious. The reality of a ransomware attack is just stark. Ransomware is malicious software that basically encrypts your files and completely locks you out. And the fallout is brutal. The attackers will demand a payment, typically in crypto, just to restore your access. For a small business, we aren't just talking about a minor headache. We're looking at days or even weeks of total downtime, massive financial losses, and in some nightmare scenarios, the permanent loss of all your data. And once it's inside, modern ransomware spreads across the network like wildfire.
Now, the natural response here is usually, well, I have backups. But hold on, let me stress a really crucial point from our source material here. Backups are critical, yes, but only if they are tested and stored properly. If your backup drive is directly plugged into your infected systems, that ransomware is going to reach right over and lock up your backups too. You absolutely have to use offsite or cloud backups with strict access controls to give yourself genuine protection.
So how does ransomware actually get in? Actually, a lot of the time, it's the silent danger of unpatched software. Software vendors release updates all the time to patch up security holes. But for small businesses, those updates can feel annoying because they usually require a restart, so staff lazily hit Remind Me Tomorrow indefinitely. But listen, deferring those updates leaves known, documented vulnerabilities wide open for attackers to just walk right through. Fact is, many of the biggest, most widely reported ransomware outbreaks trace directly back to systems that simply weren't patched. To put all this into perspective, when we map out these risks for an SME, phishing sits right at very high likelihood, which means you absolutely need robust email filtering and staff training. Then you've got high likelihood risks like ransomware, weak passwords, and unpatched software. Those require automated patching, password managers, and MFA. And then we have our moderate likelihood risks, things like insider threats and unsecured remote access. Let's actually dig into those moderate risks next. Which brings us to Section 4, Internal Risks and Remote Access. We're looking beyond just the external hackers now. So remote working is pretty much the norm now, right? But when your staff access business systems from their home network or some public Wi-Fi without a secure connection, they can so easily expose credentials or data to interception. For instance, if you use remote control software to access office computers from home and you expose that directly to the open internet, well, you're painting a massive target on your back. That connection absolutely has to be protected by a virtual private network, a VPN, along with MFA. No exceptions. And here's a reality check. Not all security incidents are caused by some shadowy external hacker. Accidental data loss by your own team is a very serious, moderate likelihood risk. We're talking about innocent mistakes, like a staff member inadvertently emailing sensitive files to their personal account, losing an unencrypted laptop at a coffee shop, or just misconfiguring a shared folder so everyone can see it. And yeah, unfortunately, in some cases, departing employees might intentionally take client data with them on the way out the door. So how do we mitigate that kind of internal risk? Well, it comes down to 3 key things: access controls, audit logging, and data loss prevention policies. It's really about the principle of least privilege. If your staff only ever have access to the data that is strictly necessary for their specific roles, then if a mistake happens or even if a malicious action occurs, the potential damage is inherently limited in its scope. All right, bringing it all together with Section 5, your practical security blueprint. Let's talk next steps. I know cybersecurity can feel totally overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. The National Cybersecurity Center provides a super straightforward framework called the Cyber Essential Scheme. It tackles the absolute most common attack vectors using just 5 basic technical controls: firewalls, secure configuration, user access control, malware protection, and patch management. Working your way through these 5 controls is a fantastic, practical way for any small business to drastically raise its security baseline. It's all about turning that anxiety into proactive defense. Okay, if you're a manager or owner watching this and thinking, what can I do the literal minute this explainer ends? Here is your rapid-fire action plan. Ready? Enable MFA across all your business accounts immediately. Set your software to apply updates automatically outside of working hours. Get a password manager for your team. Ensure all your devices are encrypted using built-in tools like BitLocker for Windows or FileVault for Mac. Configure robust email filtering, and please test those offsite backups regularly. Let's summarize the whole shebang today. Yes, you as a small business are absolutely an active target for cybercriminals. Phishing is their most common front door, and ransomware is the heavy hitter that can knock you completely flat. But by taking action, implementing multi-factor authentication, using password managers, keeping prompt offsite backups, and following practical national guidance, you can build an absolute fortress around your business. I'm going to leave you with one final provocative question to chew on today. Are there gaps in your current IT setup? I want you to be totally honest with yourself when assessing your infrastructure. Do you have unpatched software lingering around? Are your backups truly physically disconnected? If you aren't 100% sure, it might just be time to consider an IT consultation to close those remaining vulnerabilities before someone else finds them. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay safe out there, and remember,
Never assume you are too small to be a target.